Good morning, everybody. Welcome to 86 Weldon Street. I'm across the street because there's quite a bit of property here I want to cover. There's going to be a little bit of traffic. I'm at a four-way intersection. What's cool about this place, one of the earliest sort of discoveries that I made when I started doing historic research, the style of this appears to be Gothic revival. You can tell that by the style of these dormer windows, and they call it gingerbread trim around. So that's a very early style in a very specific era of time. This was built probably around 1876. But what's cool about this is that, well, cool and confusing at first, was that it didn't fit. If you look kind of down the neighborhood, it didn't fit. There was something, this weird sort of outbuilding that's attached, and the stone foundations didn't really fit with this area. So it was always kind of confusing to me. It just sort of popped up at the turn of the 20th century on the various resources in the maps. When doing other research, what ends up happening is you discover other things. Things stay in my mind. I have a bit of a OCD brain, so stuff stayed in my brain, and I saw this article where a F.W. Sumner moved his house in 1908 from Main Street to the corner of Weldon and Gordon Street. So that kind of led me to earlier maps, and you can actually see this building on Main Street after 1876. So F.W. Sumner was was a retail name in the city of Moncton, very prominent at the time, and this place actually had a name, I discovered. Ravenwood. Woo. So it was one of 3 or 4 properties with big semicircular driveways on Main Street. And as I said in a previous post, people bought houses back in the day. They didn't necessarily buy the properties. You buy a house, you move it. So Sumner bought this house, lived there for a few years, and then wanted to build a bigger house on Main Street. So instead of tearing down this house, he actually had it moved up the street. Eventually occupied by his son, F.R. Sumner. But what's kind of interesting, the local lore of this house is that back in the day they found different ways of moving houses, and this one was peeled logs and bananas for grease is how they moved that up the street. And if you actually see, that's actually the carriage house right here. So you see some of the original shingles and everything on here that just don't fit where it is right now. So like 72 Botsford Street, the Stevens house, it didn't fit architecturally in the area. And then you find out, in fact, it was moved after a period of time. So actually in pretty good shape for something from 1876. The fact that you still have that carriage house and all those original details, absolutely fantastic. So that is Ravenwood in Moncton.